Lincoln UK Parliament constituency. Lincoln is a constituency in Lincolnshire, England, represented in the House of Commons of the UK Parliament since 2019 by Karl McCartney, a Conservative Party politician. Since the split of the city of York with effect from the 2010 general election, Lincoln has been the oldest constituency in continuous existence in the UK, established in 1265. Lincoln was a bellwether between 1974 and 2017. The seat bucked the National Conservative victory in 1970 by electing a Labour MP, as it did in 2017. The seat has been considered, relative to others, an ultra-marginal seat, as well as a swing seat, since 2005, as its winner's majority has not exceeded 6.9% of the vote since the 12.5% majority won in 2005, and the seat has changed hands 3 times since that year. Boundaries: 1918–1950, the county borough of Lincoln and the urban district of Bracebridge. 1950–1974, the county borough of Lincoln. 1974–1983, as prior but with redrawn boundaries. 1983–1997, the city of Lincoln and the district of North Kesteven, wards of Bracebridge Heath, North Hykeham Central, North Hykeham North, North Hykeham South, Skellingthorpe, and Waddington West. 1997–2010, the city of Lincoln and the district of North Kesteven, ward of Bracebridge Heath. 2010–present, the city of Lincoln and the district of North Kesteven, wards of Bracebridge Heath and Waddington East and Skellingthorpe. The constituency, as its name suggests, covers the cathedral city of Lincoln in Lincolnshire and most of its directly adjoining villages. History: Lincoln first sent members to Parliament in 1265, 30 years before the first all-over coverage of cities and qualifying towns was introduced in the model parliament, and has done so ever since, although no records exist from before the end of the 13th century. The early elections were held at the Guildhall, and the burgesses elected were usually officials of the borough. The representation, originally 2 members burgesses, was reduced to 1 member in 1885. The seat was represented for 5 years by former cabinet minister Margaret Jackson, later Margaret Beckett. Lincoln became the oldest constituency in the country in 2010 when the City of York constituency was divided. Constituency profile: the seat includes the University of Lincoln. From 1945 to 1972, Lincoln was continuously held by the Labour Party, often as a safe seat. The city has good transport links with Nottingham, Hull, and the smaller ancient market towns in Lincolnshire, such as Spalding, Market Racing, and Boston. Lincoln was a bellwether constituency from October 1974 to 2015. In 2017, Labour took the seat despite being the second largest party nationwide. Members of Parliament: MP 1265–1660, MP 1660–1885, MP 1885–present. Elections: elections in the 2010s, elections in the 2000s, elections in the 1990s, elections in the 1980s, elections in the 1970s, elections in the 1960s, elections in the 1950s, election in the 1940s, general election 1939–40. Another general election was required to take place before the end of 1940. The political parties had been making preparations for an election to take place from 1939, and by the end of this year, the following candidates had been selected: Conservative, Walter Liddell; Labour, George Deere, 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 George Deere. Liberal, British Union, E.H. Adams. Elections in the 1930s. Elections in the 1920s. Elections in the 1910s. General election 1914/15. Another general election was required to take place before the end of 1915. The political parties had been making preparations for an election to take place, and by July 1914 the following candidates had been selected: Liberal Charles Roberts, Unionist J. Foster. Elections in the 1900s. Elections in the 1890s. Elections in the 1880s, caused by Palmer's death. Elections in the 1870s. Elections in the 1860s, caused by Henry J's resignation. Caused by Sibthorpe's death. Elections in the 1850s, caused by Sibthorpe's death. Elections in the 1840s, caused by Seeley's election being declared void on petition due to bribery by his agent on 10 March 1848. Elections in the 1830s,